Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Sorry, I deleted all the files you told me to delete. Posted by oldman712. My job was to design and write software protocols for individual high-value customers. If they liked it enough, then a real software engineering team would build the real product. Occasionally, I'd run the protocol for a few months while the customer evaluated if they want to buy the real project. Now, these protocols are not a lot of code, but they do run with a lot of data. Even compressed, they can be a terabyte or more. Having done this work for years, I've accumulated a small disk farm of past projects, which can be very useful when a customer asks for something just like we did last year, but with a small change or two. The company resisted buying hard drives for this, but it saves me so much time. I ended up buying 1 or 2 a year myself until I accumulated about 10 of them. I figure over $1,000 worth of external hard drives. Then, unexpectedly, management changed and the new management thought they could replace the old software guy with a cheaper new software grad, and I was laid off with 2 weeks to train my replacement. Yes, it's blatant age discrimination, but impossible to fight, so I just went for a graceful transition to my next job. Except, I have $1,000 of personal disk drives with old customer data on them. The company insists that no ex-employees may take any company data off premises and all files must be deleted. I don't want to just leave my drives at the company, but they insist that I must delete all data before taking them home. So I offer that they can buy them from me. I will eventually use them for something else, but I can leave the data on them in case someone needs it. Not good enough. New management insists I must delete all data and all backups before I remove the drives. Okay, that's what I do. 6 months later, I get a series of desperate phone calls. New software grad has been unable to build any new prototypes, and old customers are calling to get old prototypes updated, and new software grad has no idea how to do that. Executive VP is calling to ask what would it take to bring me back to do my old job. Sorry, I've got a new job now, and even if I didn't, I can't just modify the old prototypes because you insisted I delete all the old copies of it. If I did want to modify it, I'd first have to recreate it from scratch. The code still exists in their source control, but the data is the heart of the prototypes. And that old series of 6 months apart data we collected is gone for good, no matter what. Sorry, you screwed yourselves, exactly like I told you would happen. Hope whatever you saved by hiring a new grad to replace an actual experienced programmer was worth it. Down in the comments, Caston Vera says, I had a similar experience while working as a contractor. I was brought on to work on an open source platform, a links-based custom CMS for call center agents at a large firm. 6 months into the contract, they decide we have to integrate with a Microsoft LDAP service. I've never touched the thing before, but I give it a try. They give me some scuffed 14GB VMware hard drive files to boot as the LDAP server instead of the actual integration, and I can't get these things to work. Of course, we have no actual source control or documentation either. I try to talk to the guy who made them, and he responds to a total of 2 emails over 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, I get a call that I'm being let go from the contract because it's not a good sign that I can't get the development environment running. Never mind that I've single-handedly built 70% of their entire platform and demoed it to them 3 times along the way. So, after the call is over, they send me an email giving me parting instructions, and one of the steps on the list is to delete all the files related to my work immediately, and that I have 24 hours to comply. Remember how I said we have no source control? Well, I follow the instructions to the letter, and format the encrypted drive I was keeping the project on. A week later, the project manager calls me up and tells me they have a Git server now and I need to upload my code. I say, what are you talking about? You instructed me, under threat of legal repercussions, to delete all those files last Tuesday. He just kind of sounds flabbergasted at that point. He tries to walk through not paying me out for my last month of work, and I say, no, I have that time billed and labeled out for each thing I did. It's not my responsibility to make sure you have the deliverables that you explicitly instructed me to delete. I got my check on time and never heard from them again. Not qualified for the promotion? Then I'll just do my job. Posted by Sherlock Da Vinci. A few years ago, I worked for a furniture store in the back store. My job consisted of unloading and loading trucks, assembling furniture, and placing it on the main floor of the store. After around 6 months there, my supervisor announced that he resigned, meaning his post was up for grabs. I had all the technical requirements, so I applied, but they gave the job to another one of my colleagues who had more experience, which was totally reasonable. After maybe 1 year, my then supervisor just stopped coming into work for no reason. He just decided he'd had enough and just left. No 2 weeks notice or anything. So while the director tried to get a hold of him, I took over the role of supervisor. I was the one with the most experience, which means that combined with my regular work, I was now the one telling people what to do and when, doing the schedule, and all the paperwork for the shipment. 3 weeks later, my colleague was officially fired by my director. In those 3 weeks, I kept doing the job of supervisor, and doing it pretty well, so I thought the promotion would come to me. But my director did nothing. Well, in manager logic, if you're doing a job for free, why would they start paying you to do it? I went to see him, explained what I'd been doing, and asked if I'd gotten the promotion. To which he answered that I was not qualified, nor smart enough to do this job. After some thinking, I just decided that if I was not smart enough to do the job, then I shouldn't do it. So I went back to doing my regular job, and I also started looking for something else. 4 or 5 days after I stopped filling in, my director came to see me in the back store, asking, "Why the F is the job not being done?" After all, without me to organise it, nothing was getting out of the store to be delivered to the clients. I just reminded him of our previous meeting, and he told me, "Yeah, I remembered that, but what I meant is, you're not qualified to get the pay bonus for the job. You still have to do the job, you idiot." I have to admit, I still wonder how he thought that would work. Still a bit dumbfounded, I just told him that if I wasn't getting paid to do it, I certainly wasn't going to do the job, and that considering we were already short-staffed, with my old supervisor gone, he should be a bit more polite. Apparently, this was an unreasonable request, and a total lack of respect to him, and worthy of firing me. Yep, I still don't get how that would fix anything, but hey, he's the boss. I packed everything, and left knowing that the back store, which needed 5 people to operate, was now down to 3, with the most experienced worker having a total of 4 months. It only took my boss 1 day to call me back, telling me maybe he went overboard, and that perhaps we could arrange something for the promotion. To which I replied that I would not be coming back, since I had a few interviews lined up. I hung up while he was still cussing at me. After a few months of my new job, I heard some surprising news. The store had closed down after 2 other backstore employees resigned. Gotta admit, it felt pretty good to see my old boss finally getting what he deserved. If this does not work, then quit. Posted by Logical Discussion 9. So, old story and somewhat petty, but back when I was in college, I worked for DPS. I was the a-hole that people hated and ticketed everyone. Anyways, I'd been working at this job for 6 months, minimum wage, when we got a new manager. I worked this job because they worked around my class schedule. When this new manager started, they gathered us all up to say the following: "Your schedules will no longer revolve around your classes. This is not how the real world works. If you have a problem with this, then you are free to quit." I proceeded to work the new schedule for a week and be late for my classes. Then I thought to myself, what's the point of a job if I can't get to my classes? So I wrote up a resignation letter and emailed it to my supervisor. He was chill and was like, okay. The manager calls and says I have to give her a minimum of 2 weeks notice and I can't just quit. Did they give you 2 weeks notice that they were altering the schedule to interfere with your classes? I went to the office and handed her my letter of resignation. She then told me how unprofessional I was and how I can't use this place as a reference anymore. My response? As I recall your exact words last week, if this schedule does not work for you, you should quit. She then yelled at me, and how dare I throw this back in her face. Then how she was going to report me to the university. For what? Quitting so you can attend your classes? Well, nothing happened, and I still get a kick about how angry she was. Thanks for listening to my story. This is more like malicious compliance than petty revenge. You literally just did what they told you to. Some managers just don't get that employment is a two-way contract. You give me something, i.e. skills, time and labour, and in return, I give you something, money, benefits, etc. She reneged on her side of the bargain, the ability to work around your classes, And now she's shocked that her staff are pulling out of the deal and leaving. She wouldn't be so upset if she didn't need OP. Boss caught wind of a coworker wanting to open her own business. Posted by UBT400. This happened years ago. I worked at a liquor store and my boss at the time was one of those "we're like a family here and we look out for each other" type guys. Needless to say, that was all BS to get employees emotionally invested in the store to be taken advantage of. One of my co-workers, a manager, wanted to open her own business. If I'm recalling correctly, it was for private mixology lessons for cocktails and whatnot, where short videos would be taken for social media promos. So, when my boss heard her talking about it in passing, he acted all excited for her, encouraging even. He wished her luck and told her to reach out to him if she wanted friendly business advice. A few months later, coworker began the process of taking the leap and went to apply to trademark her intended business name, which she soon discovered was already owned. Purchased fairly recently actually. Her business name was going to match her current Instagram tag, which has a decent following for her independent posts already. It was a unique name as well, so she was confused as to who the hell bought the rights. She hadn't told anyone her business name because she wasn't sure back then when she started talking about it. It was our boss. Our boss bought her business name idea without her even telling him. He just guessed that she'd use her Instagram handle. Coworker approached him, asking why would he do that, and he claimed he grabbed it on her behalf for safekeeping or something weird like that. She asked him for the rights to be transferred to her so she could start the process of applying for everything needed to start the business. He quoted her triple the price he paid for it initially, citing the name's value was in demand and therefore more valuable. So much for family. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.